Good morning, everyone. My name is SP Shantanu, and I am from Media and Public Relations team from IIM Raipur. Today in the office we have Shriyansh Shukla, who is the Associate Director of Business and Strategy from Disney Plus Hotstar. We welcome you, sir, to the 8th Leadership Summit of IIM Raipur. So, with your permission, should we start our interview? Okay. So, moving to the first question of the interview. What has been the most significant challenges that are faced in the rapidly growing OTT streaming industry?
See, there are many challenges that we face in the OTT industry as such, right? One of the key challenges is that it's such a new medium. There are no business protocols or business paradigms that one can lean back and understand from.
Okay.
So, for an example, in the TV industry, it's been about TV industry in India is about 30-35 years old.
Right.
So, there have been set practices where people can rely back upon business challenges to understand that what worked in the past. Here, in the current OTT industry, all the 3 or 4 key players, they have a very different business model and a very different sources of revenue.
Okay.
So, that is on the business part of it. From the consumer's point of it also, I think the main challenge lies in that the change in taste of consumer preferences over the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So, like for an example, if you go back to late 90s or early 2000s, a mass entertainment movie or a show as well used to have take us across the country. A popular movie used to be popular across segments. Now what we are seeing is there is more of heterogeneity across segments. So to cater to taste of the ever evolving audiences from an OTT standpoint of view, that remains a challenge. So as I put down 2 key challenges, one is from the business perspective. How do you create the best business models that bring in the revenues, that allows you to spend enough on the content and the tech part of it?
Okay.
And the third part from the consumer POV, that how do you create content or how do you create those specific cohort pieces of content that has a mass appeal?
Okay. So, what are the some of the most valuable lessons that you have learned in your long career, particularly in navigating the complexities of the digital media landscape?
So, I think from when we shifted from the broadcasting medium as such to an OTT medium,
Right.
I think we had to learn, unlearn, and relearn many things. So, couple of the learnings that we still imbibe in is that the consumer, there are 2 ways, right? Is a digital first consumer very different from a TV consumer, or is the same consumer looking for entertainment across platforms? So the more you deep dive into understanding the consumers, again you will get very different insights, and those insights can teach you into learnings about, again, creation of content or creation of the way a consumer interacts with the platform. So if you again compare and contrast it with the TV world, so there was no platform differentiation between, say, a Star Plus or a Colors or a Sony, right? It used to all be the same.
Right.
But now if you just see the UI and the UX of, for an example, a Netflix or an Amazon or a Disney Hotstar, everyone will have a very different life to it, and the audience interaction with it completely changes the way you consume content.
Okay.
So the first port of content, for an example, for many viewers is still YouTube. Again, people would argue that even if I have a Netflix subscription, why do I shift to YouTube and why do I see all those ads?
Right.
It could only be because the ease of navigation on YouTube is much easier. It understands your preferences and recommends according to it very well. No other platform, including Hotstar or Amazon or Netflix, is coming close to it. And there's the sheer volume of content that YouTube offers. So people come for different platforms either because of the content or because of the UI UX or because of the price points. So learning those 4 factors would be very key in understanding that how does OTT evolve from here.
Different OTTs have different differentiation strategies. So,
right.
So, for example, Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Hotstar. How are you differentiating? Because all 3 are producing content, mostly catered to Indian audience. So, how is the differentiation strategy exactly?
See, the main difference points lies across multiple segments. So one of the key differentiators between, for an example, a Netflix and a Hotstar is the price point, right?
Right.
So for a ultra premium account on a Netflix, you people generally pay about 700 rupees a month. So over a year is about 8,500 rupees. On the Hotstar, the most premium category that we have is about 1,500, 1,600 rupees per year. So price points becomes a huge difference, right? And also what happens is because of the lower price points, you are able to attract significant more number of masses. So in terms of subscribers, we are about 5x of what a Netflix is.
Yes.
So because of the base, my content strategy is very, very different from a Netflix. Because Netflix still remains a top tier, very, very niche segment of the country. So for an example, if there around a 10 million subscriber base, they still attract only the top, less than the top 1% of the country.
Like the urban.
Urban youth,
Right.
and again, very, very elite.
Okay.
So first language for them is English. First point of contact also is for understanding lots of international content as well.
Okay.
But at Disney Hotstar, our focus, as I said, is more on the masses and the diversity we have for. So from the Disney portfolio, we got the Marvels of the world, which again targets the premium audiences. Then at the other end of the spectrum, we have the GEC content, we have the TV content, which is again on the platform. And in between these two spectrums, we try to create movies, original shows, which appeals to the wider segment of the audience. So that's the key differentiation between the top 3 OTT platforms as such.
Okay. So as you said, there are a lot of subscribers, more subscribers than Netflix, definitely. So what are the strategies that Disney Plus Hotstar employs to drive the subscriber growth, according to you?
So again, it's the offerings that you give to the viewers in terms of the content choices and the packages which we create with our finance team, that to understand that what's the difference between a premium paying segment. So for an example, there is a super premium pack which does not give you any ads apart from sports.
Okay.
And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have a monthly plan which people don't mind watching ads with, and then it's only a mobile plan. So in terms of creating those packages as well, again, you need to cater to various different segments and cohorts of the country, and then you add in the layer of what are the kind of languages do they prefer watching content with.
Okay.
How do you mix? As I said, there is a sports offering, there is a Disney offering,
Okay.
there is a TV offering, and then the specials and the movies that we create, right? So it's like the full Indian thali meal that which we are offering,
Right.
and which the consumers are finding value for.
So it's like you are targeting demographically exactly and dividing them and then targeting it individually.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Sir, so a personal question relating to your professional career actually. So can you describe a significant challenge that you faced in the strategic role, and how did you address it
So
successfully?
I think in the career-wise, there have been many strategic challenges. Couple of them that comes to the top of my mind, right? And this was back in my days in Z. So at Z, I think we had to launch. So in the TV part of the world, there is something which we call as the how much is the share of voice. So there are 4 or 5 key networks. So Star is a network, Z is a network, Sony, Sun, Viacom. These are the 5 key networks in the TV industry. Between these 5, we have about 75 to 80% of the market share. 75 to 80% of viewership share, and around 90% of the revenue share.
Okay.
So the idea at Z, what we were grappling for a very long time, was that how do you first increase the viewership share and then the revenue share. So obviously, if I want to increase the viewership share, that could be 2 ways, right? You launch more number of channels across various genres and gather viewership from, or build more programming time, more programming engagement on the existing channels to drive viewership and drive revenue.
Okay.
So choosing between these two, so there was a very high pressure of putting it at limited resources, of creating higher value from existing resources. So getting higher viewership from the existing channels. But I think the strategic call that I had to take, and we had to push the management also, was to allow us to launch more number of channels, to invest more, but then in the longer run that will drive value.
Okay.
So which segments, which genres and which markets to create and what kind of content offerings to take. So I think that was a strategic call which we took about a year and a half and of research and analysis. And then I think at one go in a period of a year, we launched some about 8 to 12 different genre, different language, different channels.
Okay.
I think which resulted in about a 25-30% points gain in terms of market share.
Nice.
I think that was a good strategic call that we take.
Okay. So, going against the management who chose.
Not against you can't go against the management, but just to convince them, right? So one is what the data tells you. One is the market ready for it? Third, are the advertisers ready for it? So for an example, tomorrow, if you remember, there are channels like channels like National Geographic or Discovery, right? Even if you get significant viewership out of it, there are no advertising revenues to be made from it. So you need to understand from a consumer's, from a content and from a business perspective. And then if these things make right, convincing management is a very different ball game, because at the end of the day, you are putting the shareholders' money on the table.
Right.
So that's a different challenge, but strategy point of view, it did make sense.
I have the final question for you for the day. So, based on your experiences, what advice would you give to I Am Raipur students who are about to enter the corporate world and who are aspiring to be the future business leaders? What are your advices?
Wish I could give some really good advice to how to be business leaders. But from my experience, I think the important part is to understand what are your core expertise,
Okay.
and then work towards making it even sharper, more focused. So you see, in terms of the future leaders, right, and the way I see the leaders being groomed, and also leaders across industries, either it could be only two ways, right? You have a very focused, very micro, and a very sharp area of expertise into one specific things, or you become a macro manager where you learn good amount of things over multiple sectors.
Okay.
So that's why you can be like a problem solver at various goals. So either very early in your career, if you choose one of these two fields, and then create your expertise or create your protocols based on that, I think it will help you significantly in the longer run, and that could apply across industries, right? Be it your FMCG, be it your banking, or be it something like a media and entertainment industry. So choose your focus area well, and then keep on adding layers to it. I think that would be my best advice there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It was an honor to interview you. We hope you would come give us an interview again.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.